Imagine this. You're walking down a dim hallway, and with every step, the walls narrow. You don't remember entering it, yet you've been here for years. There are no guards, no locks, no alarms, only your own reflection staring back at you in a mirror-lined corridor. You are both prisoner and warden, architect and inmate. The strangest part? The door was never locked. You built this place. Not with brick or steel, but with silent decisions, invisible fears, the small compromises you called just being realistic. Each doubt, each moment you bit your tongue instead of speaking your truth, each time you chose comfort over courage, they weren't isolated acts. They were bricks, laid down one after another, mortared with shame, fear of rejection, and the illusion of safety. You've mistaken the walls for protection. But they're not. They're confinement. You dress it up, of course. You call it stability, routine, responsibility. You tell yourself that this life, this tight hallway, is better than risking failure or ridicule. You stay in the job you despise because it pays the bills. You maintain friendships that drain you because being alone sounds worse. You keep pretending you're fine because the truth might unravel everything. But how many masks can you wear before forgetting your own face? You weren't born in this prison. It didn't come with childhood. You built it slowly, carefully. With each moment of self-denial, each time you traded your authenticity for approval, each time you looked in the mirror and said, maybe later, just not now. What began as survival slowly became identity. Now, the bars are made of your own beliefs. That you're not enough. That it's too late. That change is impossible. Here's the paradox. You hold the key, yet you're terrified to use it. Because freedom means responsibility. It means facing the unknown. It means dismantling everything you've told yourself about who you are. And let's face it, when the lie is all you've known, the truth feels like death. So ask yourself, what would happen if you stopped performing? What would remain if the roles, expectations, and labels fell away? Who would you become if you stepped outside the narrative you've been living? Maybe that's why you've stayed. Not because the prison is comfortable, but because it is familiar. And the unknown, though it promises liberation, feels like madness. You tell yourself this is just life. That everyone lives like this. That dreams are for the foolish and truth is for the broken. But deep down, you know better. Something in you, perhaps long buried, still knocks on the walls. Still whispers, there is more than this. And that voice is getting louder. You feel it, don't you? That subtle ache that no amount of distraction can numb. That quiet panic beneath the surface. That hunger for something real. Not comfort, not control, but truth. So here you are, standing in the hallway of your own design, hand hovering over the key you pretend not to see. The question is no longer, how did I get here? The real question is, why do I keep choosing to stay? And that is where we must go next. White heavy check mark ready for me to move on to section 2, the hidden problem and its psychological/philosophical roots. Just say the word. Brain section 2, the hidden problem and its psychological/philosophical roots. Word count, 596. You didn't start here. No one is born building prisons. You arrived in this world whole, crying, open, demanding, and alive. But slowly, something began to erode that essence. Not all at once. Just subtle messages, repeated often enough that they became law. Don't be too loud. Don't be too sensitive. Be strong. Fit in. Make us proud. Don't disappoint. So, like clay under pressure, you began to reshape. You learned to edit yourself, to cut away the messy, the wild, the inconvenient parts. You learned that love could be conditional, that approval was earned, and that worth could be negotiated. And so, the walls began to rise. Carl Jung called it the persona, the mask we wear to meet the world. It helps us function in society, but when we mistake the mask for the face beneath, we lose our authenticity. You start becoming who you're supposed to be, not who you are. The deeper your mask grows, the more distant you become from your own inner voice. But where does this conditioning come from? Much of it, perhaps, from fear, the most ancient currency of control. Fear of being unloved, unworthy, rejected. Schopenhauer once said, "A man can be himself only so long as he is alone." Why? Because being fully yourself in front of others is dangerous. It risks being seen, judged, dismissed. So, to belong, we amputate pieces of ourselves. The tragedy? We think we're being accepted, but what's really being loved is the version of us that we created out of fear. Then comes the ego, hungry to protect, to control. Nietzsche warned that the ego is a fiction, a construct to keep us stable amidst chaos. It feeds on identity. I am this kind of person. I don't do those kinds of things. People like me don't chase dreams. These are not facts. They are walls. Even society plays its part. Aldous Huxley once wrote, "The real hopeless victims of mental illness are to be found among those who appear to be most normal." You go to work, pay your bills, smile at the right times, but inside, you're dying quietly. Why? Because conformity is the invisible jailer. From an early age, you were taught how to be good, not how to be free. And what of meaning? Viktor Frankl, a man who survived literal prison camps, said, "When a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure." Sound familiar? The endless scrolling, the binging, the shopping, the noise. All distractions from the aching silence, the one that asks, "Is this really who I am?" You've built the prison so well, so skillfully, that you forgot it was ever a construction. It looks like a life. But it's a performance. A simulation. You wonder why joy feels fleeting, why fulfillment slips through your fingers. It's because the self you're feeding is not the one that hungers. You're not just trapped. You are the trap. And this is not to blame, but to awaken. To see that the enemy is not your boss, your family, your partner, or society. It's the unconscious agreement you made to trade your truth for their acceptance. An agreement you can revoke. But not yet. Not until you see how deep the illusion runs. Because once you see it, you can't unsee it. And that's when the real crisis begins. Next, we need to look at what this hidden prison does to your world, how it shapes your identity, your relationships, your very perception of life. Shall we go deeper? Brain Section 3, The Unseen Consequences. Word count, 587. You think you're living a life, but you're really living a narrative. One carefully curated to keep the walls standing, to protect the illusion that you are in control, that this is who you chose to be. But let's get honest. What if your personality isn't your essence, but your defense mechanism? What if your preferences, your habits, even your ambitions are merely the echoes of survival strategies you adopted to avoid rejection, failure, pain? Here lies the most chilling consequence of the prison you built for yourself. You mistake it for freedom. Because it doesn't look like a cage. It looks like your job title, your relationship, your social circle, your weekend routines. It looks like normalcy. But here's how it reveals itself. Every time you say yes when you want to say no. Every time you smile when you're actually crumbling inside. Every time you stay silent when your truth is screaming. The prison speaks in a soft voice. It says, "Don't rock the boat." It whispers, "This is just how things are." It convinces you that your discomfort is a personal flaw, not a sign of misalignment. Over time, the walls get tighter. The cost grows steeper. Neurologically, the brain begins to automate this performance. The longer you suppress, the stronger the neural pathways of conformity become. The default mode network, your brain's autopilot, learns the pattern: avoid risk, seek approval, stay small. The self becomes a loop, played again and again until it becomes a kind of identity amnesia. Meanwhile, your authentic self, the part of you that once dared to dream, to rage, to love without armor, starts to wither. Not because it's weak, but because you stopped feeding it. Emotionally, this creates chronic anxiety, an invisible dissonance between who you are and who you're pretending to be. Depression isn't always sadness. Sometimes it's the soul's protest against a life that no longer fits. As Sartre said, hell is other people, but more often, hell is the self you've been pretending to be for them. And the damage ripples outward. Your relationships become transactional, rooted in mutual performance. Your creativity dries up, because creativity cannot survive where permission must always be granted. Even your capacity to love becomes conditional. Because how can you offer real love if you're not showing your real self? Eventually, you stop asking big questions. You numb the ache. You get efficient, productive, polite. And slowly, quietly, your life becomes a script handed to you by everyone but you. And this is exactly how society prefers you. Manageable, predictable, easily influenced. A consumer of trends, a follower of rules, a cog who confuses safety with purpose. But deep down, something still resists. Maybe it shows up as a recurring dream. A panic attack at 3 a.m. A sense of, is this all there is? When everything seems fine. It's the part of you that remembers, that knows. Because here's the most terrifying truth of all. You were never meant to live this way. Your soul wasn't built for captivity. It was built for risk, for awe, for raw truth. And the longer you stay locked inside the narrative, the more disconnected you become, not just from others, but from yourself. And the question that begins to rise isn't, how do I get out? It's, what will be left of me when I finally do? But there is a way out. A rebellion. A shattering. It won't come gently, but it will be worth it. Fire Section 4. The Rebellion, How to Break Free. Word count, 599. You will not escape this prison by running. You will not escape it by pretending it's not there. You will only escape by breaking, not breaking down, but breaking open. Rebellion, in its truest form, doesn't begin with clenched fists. It begins with an honest question. What if everything I believe about myself is a lie I was taught to survive? This is not rebellion against the world. It's rebellion against your own programming. To break free, you must first challenge your deepest assumptions, the stories that seem unquestionable, the ones you whisper to yourself in the dark. I'm not creative. I don't deserve more. I have to be strong for everyone else. It's too late for me. These are not facts. These are scripts. And every script has an author. The question is, was it ever really you? Consider the Stoics. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote privately to himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." The rebellion begins with radical responsibility. Not for what happened to you, but for what you do next. This means sitting still. Not running. Not fixing. Just noticing. Where do you flinch? Where do you lie to yourself? Where does your body tighten when truth comes too close? Start there. Then, begin dismantling the illusion. Piece by piece. Say no to the things that shrink you. Say yes to what terrifies you, but feels honest. Speak truths that make your voice tremble. Will you be misunderstood? Yes. Will people walk away? Possibly. Will you feel lost? Absolutely. But in that loss, you'll find something far more sacred, yourself. Look at those who've broken free before you. Viktor Frankl found purpose in a concentration camp by realizing he could still choose his attitude. He wrote, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." He was in a real prison, but he lived freer than most people outside it. Or consider Siddhartha Gautama, the man who became the Buddha. A prince surrounded by luxury, he walked away from everything to confront the suffering of the world and, more importantly, the suffering of himself. His freedom came not from running from pain, but by understanding its source. Rebellion isn't loud. It's sacred. It's the moment you stop outsourcing your identity. You don't need permission to begin. Write without worrying if it's good. Dance even if you look ridiculous. Ask questions even if they shake your worldview. Say, "I don't know who I am anymore," and let that be the beginning. The truth is, no one is coming to save you. No perfect moment, no mentor, no map. But if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. Break the pattern. Skip the meeting. Delete the number. Say what you've been swallowing for years. Startle the world with your truth. But more importantly, startle yourself. Because rebellion, real rebellion, is not about escaping the prison. It's about realizing the door was never locked. And now that you know that, there's only one question left to answer. What will you do with your freedom? Brain Section 5. The ultimate truth. The final, most powerful realization. Word count. 591. You've rattled the cage. You've seen the cracks in the walls. You've tasted rebellion. Now comes the hardest part, the part no one warns you about. Freedom is not escape. It is exposure. Stepping outside the prison does not bring immediate peace. It brings truth, and truth is raw, unfiltered, and often terrifying. When the mask falls, and the scaffolding of your old self collapses, what remains? Stillness, silence, space. And in that space, you will meet someone you've ignored for years, the real you. Not the one you constructed. Not the one they praised or punished. But the unnameable you that existed before identity had edges. At first, it will feel like emptiness. Like a void. But it isn't. It's potential. The absence of illusion. The field where anything can grow. You will not find a ready-made self waiting. You will have to build her, moment by moment, out of intention instead of instinct. Out of awareness instead of fear. And here lies the ultimate truth. You were never trapped in the prison. You were the prison. The walls were made of thought. The bars, belief. The lock, your own consent. And if you were the prison, then you are also the key. Not outside of it. Not hidden. But within. The agony you felt all these years, the anxiety, the restlessness, the quiet ache, wasn't weakness. It was a signal. A divine discomfort. A sacred rebellion from your buried self. The truth has always been whispering, there is more. Freedom isn't about becoming something else. It's about unbecoming everything you were never meant to be. This is not the kind of freedom that fits neatly into motivational quotes. It's not the highlight reel of social media. It's not glamorous. It's not linear. It's messy. It's solitary. It's sacred. It is the moment you stop asking, who am I supposed to be? And start asking, what is true for me now? It is the moment you choose presence over performance. Alignment over approval. Soul over survival. You may lose things. Comfort. Status. Relationships built on performance. But what you gain is immeasurable. Clarity. Wholeness. Peace. You will begin to live, not from fear, but from fire. Not to please, but to be. And that kind of being is untouchable. It can't be manipulated, monetized, or molded. You will know you are free not when the world changes, but when your response to it no longer comes from fear. This journey is not easy, but it is holy, because in a world that profits from your disconnection, coming home to yourself is the most radical act of all. So now, you're standing not in a prison, but at the edge of possibility. The walls are gone. The air is sharp. The silence is deafening. And in that silence, a question rises, soft but clear. If you're no longer who they told you to be, who might you become now?